On this episode of Star Trek Universe, Effie and I are transported to a strange alien world that in no way looks exactly like Vasquez Rock's Natural Area Park in California. There we slow motion wrestle an anthropomorphic lizard at the behest of godlike angel beings who call themselves the Metrons, while everyone else is determined to call them Metrones. That's right, we're reviewing the original series episode Arena, right after these words from our mystery sponsors. Welcome in. This is Star Trek Universe. We're talking about Arena. I'm David C. Roberson. I've seen all of the Star Trek.
I am Effie Ophelders, and I have just seen this for the first time.
Yeah.
And none of the other stuff that is yet to come. Because that would be kind of weird if I just watched all the episodes and then went back and pretended. It's just way too much effort, really.
I agree. Way too much effort. Apparently, I thought that it was way too much effort to copy over the Memory Alpha synopsis. But
in that case, shall I read it or?
Yeah, if you want to.
I have it in front of me. Yeah. It just says Kirk battles an alien captain who has destroyed a Federation outpost. Period.
Hey, there you go. That is what happened.
It is technically, yeah. It's there. It's basically everything.
Yeah. So what have you got? What have you got? First of all, I'm curious about your impressions of this episode because it is one of those episodes that wound up being intensely iconic, so much so that it leaked out to the mainstream in ways that a lot of other episodes never did. So,
fair enough. I didn't know that, of course, going into it. I get why, in the sense of like, yeah, there's a big ass costume, and that's cool. But other than that, like there are parts I really like, and then there's a whole long stretch of we're running and fighting, I guess. And I don't know. Like I like the beginning, the setup, which very much feels like a war zone, and you have the continuous bombardments where I was actually deeply uncomfortable, and you know we're getting a lot of images of war recently anyway, so that was well done. And then Kirk turns into a vengeful asshole who's like, no, there's no reason to, like, let's hunt them down. And at that point, it gets into that feels slightly contrived to get to the point of, oh, these alien overlords are like, dude, you're primitive, and we're gonna treat you like that, but with minimal damage. So let's cut down on the collateral and just have you two duke it out.
Yeah.
Which is fun in places, and it does boil down to, oh, he has to know some basic chemistry, sure. But other than that, I do enjoy that the reptile is very much a slow-moving reptile, where it is like, oh, I can barely move in this suit, we're gonna use that. This is a slow-ass alien. I enjoy that. It's like, yeah, he needs to warm up in the sun, it's fine. But it just feels like so much time for so little stuff, where it's like, yeah, we're cutting back and forth through the Enterprise, and the Enterprise scenes consist of, well, we can't do shit now, can we? We can watch. We can think. I don't know. It feels like the speed, just the pacing slows, like creeps to a halt. Like, oh.
I love that the Metrons are basically like, even though we said that there would be no more communication, we have decided to let you watch this so that your first officer can explain to the audience what the hell Kirk is doing.
Yeah, basically. Oh, God. Because we can't have Kirk doing more thinking aloud. He's already been recording a bunch of stuff that apparently the Gorn was also listening into and then learned how to speak the language. Yeah. So, tons of stuff. And there's a kernel in there where it's like, okay, so they felt threatened because we'd come into their space, but also, does that make it right? Because I don't think so. I think that was an overreaction on their part. Yeah. The same way that Kirk should not have been like, let's fucking destroy these aliens.
Right.
like it's a thing for the diplomats. Should have been the first line of like that's where you should be going as a federation,
right? But Kirk is all like, he just gets like bloodthirsty. He's so angry because, well, they did mention Cestus 3 was full of like women and children, their whole families, and all of them been slaughtered. But he's like, we're the closest thing to a policeman out here. It falls on us.
Which was a red flag to me, because I'm like, honey, is this what police should be doing? Because we have a fundamental disagreement over why we, like, this is a defund the police argument to me. Jesus.
Yeah, and which also begs the question of, like, what, you know, so far in the episodes we've watched, they have very much built up this concept of they're out in this dark, harrowing space, this void where there's so much lawlessness, and the Earthmen are the only ones, and who are, you know, evolved enough to do whatever. And now they're like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks, Gene L. Kuhn, for bringing up you're a part of the Federation. So there's like a whole bunch of people, not just Starfleet. There's a Federation now. Okay, cool. Yeah. This is the first episode they mentioned the Federation. Interestingly, on his first mention, and I love this because of people who complain about new Star Trek and how certain areas of the Federation are corrupt, certain parts of Starfleet are corrupt. First mention of the Federation, they just whip out the giant dick of colonialism.
Yes. We established an outpost and we need to fucking defend it. Let's get back to the Gaza parallels that I mentioned a minute ago.
So apparently, the Federation and Starfleet and Earth are just so naive that they're just like, you know what? We're just going to go to this weird area of space we don't know, and we're just going to set up shop with a bunch of women and children, whole families living in this place, and also there's not going to be any defense.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly
not
they had
expecting
something.
Anyone.
Because they had the blue balls that explode into phasers.
Yeah, there was an armory, but they weren't prepared, so they were immediately just blasted to shit because they were expecting it to just be friendly visitors or some shit.
Yeah, and they had already said, like, in the episode, like, yeah, anybody can come here and, you know,
just
use our facilities.
Trade
Everybody
supplies and that's fine.
Cool. That's a really bad idea. And now we know why.
Because apparently it's really easy for them to learn the flight pattern of, if we approach in this manner, they'll think we're just friendly guys. I do think Kirk becomes far too bloodthirsty, but I do love that's his function at this point, because you have Spock who's saying, like, we don't need to kill them. We're good here. Yeah, we could just not escalate this into an all-out war. This seems like a bad idea. Because even if you don't respect life forms, it's like, you don't know how much of a society is backing this enemy. Mm-hmm. Like, if you attack, it could just, like we've seen before, not be a deterrent in terms of, oh, look, they're so strong. It could just be a, fuck them. We're now gonna emotionally escalate this to an intergalactic conflict that someone will have to fucking solve. So maybe don't act on your own, Mr. fucking Kirk. Like, Jesus. But it was
Kirk does have a point that, like, if they're allowed to go back to their society is going to be like, okay, cool. So, like, we could just do whatever we want. That was an invasion. Because in his mind, it's like, they're invading our society. If we don't retaliate and stop them, their government or whatever is going to go like...
Will they go further and further? And
So, he has a point, like, there.
In the sense that you should then probably, as a Federation, you know, have a conversation first about, okay, where do we draw our line? Because what do we do as a whole? Why do you have to go rogue as a singular entity deeper into that space? Like...
Effie,
it's not the greatest solution.
Effie, my dear, if that's what you're looking for, you're going to be very pleased, because Oh, most of Star
More
Trek,
bloodthirst.
most of Star Trek after the original series is endless conversation and in boardrooms with long tables and lots of diplomats.
Good. It's yeah. I've heard the sentiment before. Like Civil War should have just been more Sokovia Accords, and I'm like, it would have made for a bad movie, but yes, it would have been interesting. I want my sci-fi fantasy soap opera thing to also have the sci-fi fantasy bullshit elements of like, okay, let's build out this world. Let's have some societies. Yeah, it's
a surprising amount.
We're gonna get there.
A surprising amount of Next Generation episodes wind up being like, well, we had to stop exploring because this species would only accept Captain Picard as the mediator between their two peoples. Because as we all know, everyone throughout the galaxy knows Captain Pickard is good with his words. So like just lots of just like Picard sitting there tugging on his shirt and yes, Patrick Stewart having a very intense but respectful conversation.
You need some gravitas. Like, you get Patrick Stewart, make him talk. It's a Shakespearean actor. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I get that. I'm there for it.
But yeah, so this episode is never been one of my favorites, but I appreciate that I appreciate its place in canon and why it's iconic. It's got like this. That's one of those things that like Gene L. Coon was great with. Is like he was like one of those other people who was a little bit like the Bill Finger of Star Trek. Like he came up with the Federation. Yeah. He brought in lots of little elements throughout the series that kind of like he liked setting up shop and actually like establishing like world building elements. Yeah. So this was the first one he wrote. Mm-hmm. And by the way, we're not going to see the Gorn again. I think we see the Gorn once in the animated series, but we won't see them again in live action until 2005's Enterprise.
Christ. Okay, sure.
Yeah, like they just become a complete mystery. Like they were a mystery here and will continue to be so
for decades to come.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But now right now they're like a primary antagonist on Strange New Worlds. But and they've added some interesting elements.
Okay.
But here's a great thing though. The Vasquez Rocks, fighting at Vasquez Rocks, that's iconic from this episode, and that's a thing that, you know, they made fun of in Galaxy Quest. They literally shot a fight scene at Vasquez Rocks where someone had to like had to fashion a lathe. They had to fashion a lathe out of like the rocks surrounding them in Galaxy Quest. And I mean, like, so they even did like there's a video game that came out that was set in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. It's set in between Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness, and the primary villain is the Gorn. To advertise the game, they had William Shatner and a dude dressed in the old classic Gorn outfit playing the game on a couch. And then like the Gorn gets mad and like throws the controller, and they actually have to have a real battle in the living room. It's very delightful. It's a very well known bit, like Kirk and the Gorn slowly fighting.
Yeah, because there were some places where I was like, okay, but Kirk isn't this slow. Were they expecting to speed this up, or like what was happening in this moment? But I
don't know. Like I can like do a headcanon like you evidently did, because like I've never heard anyone else mention in Star Trek fandom that like, oh well, while it was hot for Kirk, it may have been too cold for the Gorn, and he was slow because of. I've never heard anyone else headcanon that. They were just like, nope, it's just bad because of the rubber suit. And
I'm like, of course it's a rubber suit. Of course it was hard to move, and you can tell. Mm-hmm. But I'm instantly like, it's a reptilian. They do like some of them move pretty damn slowly. Makes sense. Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Like you headcanon that. Of course you do. That's the fun of it.
No, the headcanon doesn't. It doesn't explain why Kirk is moving so slowly.
No, that it does not. Where then I have to head into meta territory where I'm like,
I would
this
assume,
feels like they were like assuming the stunt work would be sped up by like
Yeah.
1.25, 1.5, whatever, to make it look better.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's because of the girdle, but I mean, whatever.
Mayhaps, yeah.
Um,
And like he also has a limp for like half of the episode, and then he gets back on the ship, and it's like, I walk fine.
yeah. Well, I think the Metron is just like, because like he's not also not
right.
He's not like ripped up or dinged up anymore when he gets back to his ship.
Fair enough. That might be, might not have noticed that as well. I did find it funny that he's like, maybe you thought you were just protecting yourself, when he's literally been told by the Gorn that they felt invaded. So
Yeah.
the maybe feels weird, and at the same time it's like, I'll show you mercy after I've shot you with diamonds, which are way harder than whatever pointy thing I'm holding. Like, you're already bleeding out. Like, what is this but a gesture?
Well, to be fair, that was self-defense. The Gorn was not going to stop. So like,
Fair enough.
And he barely got that rag.
Like, he
that
needed to do
rag.
that. But I just felt like you don't need to actually now stab him, because he's gone. He's like, he'll be fine. It was just an excuse to have him, portray the best of humanity and be more of a evolved species and convince the Metrons that we're not assholes.
I do like the idea that Kirk, because he does have a reaction when the Gorn tells him, you invaded our species.
Yeah.
Or you invaded our space. And then we have that great bit on the bridge of the ship where McCoy is like, can that be true? If it is, we're in the wrong.
Yeah.
I loved that. And, but then, you have, when Kirk actually has a minute to like not be defending himself, and he's literally faced with shoving a thing into this creature's neck or heart or whatever it was. He's like, no, I'm not going to do this. This is bullshit.
That feels,
I do like the idea that like when Kirk has had a second to think about it, like we understand like, it doesn't justify that this creature just slaughtered a shit ton of people.
No.
Including children. But also, like, we don't have to go down to their level and do the same. It is a
no, it is fair.
It
just exactly, and it was just the contrast with Kirk at first being absolutely like, no, this is a thing for me to now stoop down to their level and retaliate, which is probably just my main gripe as well. Like as things move on, I just realized I really like Spock. McCoy gets on my nerves sometimes. Like they all have their quirks, and Kirk apparently is just not consistent. I don't know.
Hold on. I think this is the first time you've ever mentioned that McCoy gets on your nerves. I need you to unpack that a little bit.
Fair enough. I think he got on my nerves for the first time as well. Like I just his function now seems to have become the I come in with my opinion, and it's like maybe it's since the Galileo 7 where I'm like, okay, you're just here to argue with Spock and sort of make remarks about him being too logical in like it's I don't have the I didn't write down lines. That's my issue. But
it's okay.
I did like the you bet your pointed ears I am. I did like that line, but it also felt again a bit pointedly at the why are we why is this tension necessary in this story? Fuck it. Oh right, I remember. I'm looking at the quotes because thank you, Memory Alpha. The whole bolsterous speech of like, we appeal to you in the name of civilization. I just maybe because I was already against Kirk being a warlord. At that point, I'm just like, oh come on, don't be so pretentious. Like you've been called out for not being any of that. So
yeah. Well, interestingly, I don't think like in a lot of other episodes, and they didn't need McCoy to do it here because Spock was doing it because Vulcans are pacifistic. But you know, if Spock saw the logic for some reason in advancing, which he has before, and he's like looked at a species that's well known and gone, nope, they are not gonna, you have to advance on them first or they will destroy us. McCoy would be the one being like, are you out of your mind? This is antiquated thinking, we can't do that. Here he's not needed at all to be that character. But McCoy is the high-handed guy who will be like, we appeal to you in the name of civilization. He is very high-handed for such a racist.
He just doesn't. Yeah, he just doesn't have a fucking thing to stand on. That's my problem.
If McCoy was it like constantly berating Spock for being Vulcan,
yes,
he would be the best of us. Truly.
Mayhaps, yeah.
But that's
like
also
it is very doctor-like to just ignore your own prejudices, but it is. I think that's the thing where it's like, oh come on, we're just it doesn't ring true for me when he does or says those types of things, and indeed the conflict with Spock that might be the main thing where I am just like, no, just Spock is right way more often. And it is that dynamic of, okay, so we have Spock on the one end of the spectrum and Kirk on the other end of the spectrum, and McCoy is sort of caught in between where he has to be a foil to either, which makes him weirdly inconsistent.
Yeah, well,
and not always necessary, because sometimes you just want Spock and Kirk to go at it.
Yeah, but at the same time, usually what makes those three characters work really well, and I understand you haven't seen a ton of it, but what usually happens is Kirk is the one in the middle who understands both sides of logic and passion.
Right.
And that's usually why McCoy is mad at Spock, is because he's like, damn it, that's too logical, that's cold-hearted, cold-blooded.
Yeah, I'm so emotional, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. I'm a very emotional person, but in this episode, it's just Kirk is not in the middle. Kirk is on the far end of like, no, let's kill these motherfuckers. And I'm like, what am I watching?
But
I think that's my, I get the function for the story.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for me. Because I
understand.
if the premise falls apart, I am not as invested in the rest of the bullshit that unfolds.
The way I look at it here is the way it makes sense, because Kirk is very passionate himself.
Yeah.
And where he generally gets very passionate. And remember, he witnessed a massacre when he was a kid.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So when you see this, and he sees this kind of death and destruction, he's like, I'm doing this. I'm taking him out.
Yeah.
Which McCoy would generally be like, don't you want to hold off a minute and think about this thing? But McCoy is like, oh shit, well, if Spock can't talk some sense into him, I can't. Because McCoy just pisses Kirk off. So like,
yeah, that's what he does. Yeah.
McCoy is also like, it is very regular within his character to be like, to see that he doesn't have the advantage and just leave the bridge. Like, just like, I don't know what to say to this, I'm leaving.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe that adds to it, where it's like, okay, you're here to aggravate him, aggravating me, which then results in you being wrong, not having much to say, and me being like, you see, get out. And maybe that's just the vibe I'm getting, because I was maybe I was more hoping or expecting the just old friendship vibe, the council in that sense, which is there on occasion, but just not in this one.
Yeah,
that's just the thing where it's sort of he rubbed me differently than other times.
Yeah, and I think and still fault of the writing, but Kirk is whisked away so quickly. I don't even think McCoy had a chance to talk to Kirk before he was gone.
No,
And in this case, like, the only person there to talk to Kirk was Spock, and McCoy agrees with him in this instance. Like, so how about we just, like, I'm just gonna yell at the Metrons when I get the opportunity.
Exactly.
And I've got to say my little pointed ear jab, because my whole shtick is to keep, getting under Spock's skin. But, like, I don't know what he should have done given the script the way it was.
Exactly. And that's the thing with the writing where I'm like, okay, you just had a character that is part of the main cast and needed to be there. So give him some lines. Don't think too much about who the character is and where he's coming from, what he needs to do, or what arc he's part of. Like, there's just less of that.
Yeah. And though I guess it should also noted, like, I don't think DeForest Kelley was a regular at this point. I think he was still, like, he was part of the recurring cast members, but I don't think was a series lead, because in the opening credits it's only Shatner and Nimoy. DeForest will come in. He will get there.
Okay. I didn't realize he would get there.
Yeah.
It's just evident from the writing that he's third, basically.
Yeah, and it's still early days, and I think they're at this point really starting to realize, like, what they could do with these characters. But he pretty quickly becomes, I think season 2 he's third series lead.
Fair.
And at this point
it makes
in the
sense
production,
because it's like there's plenty of other characters I love, and like, but he's way above Scotty or Sulu, or like, he's clearly more prominent. And, we needed a third white guy. I mean, one of them is Vulcan, but so, it's just he's maybe it's also because from the pilot, from the get-go, from that setup, even with Pike having a doctor who's an old friend and like that, like I felt like, oh, that's going to be the core of this series, even if, as we move into a different set of characters. But sometimes there's just things where I'm like, he's moving a bit out of his character zone now, where or he's just wrong too often for my liking. That could also be a thing.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily the same as being an annoying character or anything, but it is an action that can be annoying to me sometimes, where it's like, okay, we just needed this perspective to be pointed out that it's wrong, and then move on. And I don't know.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like McCoy is often right in a lot He's
he has been absolutely that, and in different scenarios. Indeed, it's just this one doesn't serve him. So in that regard, I was just like, okay, well, sure. And like, what did he have to do last time? He was there, I guess. Did he do a lot in Squire of Gothos? I don't know. We didn't really discuss him last time.
the most he did was he reacted to that salt vampire, really.
Right. That's a character moment. But that's, again, like, something we have to read into, because if we wanted to really take Kirk's emotional outbursts of let's avenge these women and children because I have grown up in slaughter, like that's not brought up. That's us remembering previous episodes, but let's be real, not the kind of show where it's previously on. No, it's just we just enjoy, dragging that into the narrative when I don't think it was technically part of it, or they would have done something with it.
No, they were writing something to point out, like, the good guys are overreacting to a very bad thing that has happened and are about to do something very similar that the bad people just did. Like, it was too early on.
It is very much, we need the good guys to learn something instead of them being the good guys. And I get that, but then shut up about your utopian civilization bullshit.
Right. It was more about an art than, like, a storyline than it was about, like... It was more about the message than it was about, these are the characters, and this is how they would normally react. Because I don't think Kirk would act like that to begin with.
No, I think the problem with this episode is very much we want to get to this scenario, namely the fucking desert, and then... have him fight and learn that maybe you shouldn't kill people. And yeah, it is very much let's set them up in a way to serve that narrative rather than what would these characters do in this specific circumstance. Which is a shame, but there was a cool rubber suit, and that was fun.
Yeah.
We got a muscled guy in a reptilian head. It's just that's cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it looked good.
This was the phaser control room reported that the aft phasers were ready. This was the first reference in dialogue to the Enterprise having aft weaponry. Aft phasers were later shown to have been a feature of the USS Defiant in Star Trek Enterprise, episode In a Mirror Darkly, which, perhaps not coincidentally, is the first of a two-parter featuring a Gorn. And that was our first live-action appearance of a Gorn since this episode.
What are aft phasers?
Oh, they're phasers in the back of the ship.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, aft. Oh, God. Yeah. My vocabulary is all caught up again. Thank you.
Yeah. This episode is...
I am not on boats often. Come on.
It's okay. This episode is the first to reference and show the use of photon torpedoes. We've only ever seen phasers before.
Oh, really? Oh,
apparently.
Apparently, yeah. Okay. I thought torpedoes were a thing. Maybe I'm just...
we saw, like, the torpedo room in a previous episode in Balance of Terror, maybe, but maybe not.
See, this is where memory gets fuzzy.
Yeah.
Let's trust the data banks.
Memory
Alpha is probably fine. Yeah. Sure. Someone would have corrected it, right?
According to the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Family Business, by 2371, human colonists were once again living on Cestus 3.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah. And, of course, in the DS9 episode Trials and Tribulations, still my favorite episode of Star Trek, by the way, Captain Sisko admits to Jadzia Dax that he would love to have met Kirk and ask him about fighting the Gorn on Cestus 3.
Very specific.
Even though I'm pretty sure that wasn't Cestus 3 he was fighting the Gorn on.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Yeah.
William Shatner currently suffers from tinnitus due to a special effects explosion on the set of this episode, and so do Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelly.
Oh no!
Or they did until they were dead.
Yeah. Oh, that's sad. Like I realized they were good practical effects, but Christ, give them some earplugs. Damn it!
I know, right?
Oh boy. Oh, poor sods. Yeah. That's yeah. Oh well.
The creation of the diamond cannon was tested on the show Mythbusters.
Of course.
And deemed implausible.
Oh no.
It has been suggested that the wood on the Metron planet may have had different properties, however.
Of course we had cannon this shit. The bamboo, yeah, whatever. I love that they went into that. That's good. That's good.
That is fun. Yeah, again, as I said last week, not one of my favorites. Not one that I generally rewatch a lot.
No, I can see why. But that is, sometimes we have a mediocre week where it's just, we have two episodes that aren't our favorites.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy to come into it not, having you then be super enthusiastic about this great episode. Well, like, thankfully, we're sort of on the same level.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited about the next episode we were covering.
Okay. I haven't checked which one that is.
The next time we are talking about the alternative factor.
I have no idea what's it about, so we'll see.
It is one of the worst things I have ever seen, much less an episode of Star Trek. It is one of the worst episodes of Star Trek.
Oh no.
But weirdly one of my favorites because of how weird and bad it is. Like,
okay.
Like, I reference this episode all the time in my real life, and no one ever knows what I'm talking about, even though I keep telling them what it is. And so yeah, it's one of the worst things that's ever happened on Star Trek. It's just a terrible episode, and
Okay,
just
okay.
silly, but also
I am prepared.
but also fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, okay. No, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, usually I don't want to spoil like what my basic thoughts are as overall,
But in this
like,
case, it feels important
feels-
once, like if you've already said you're looking forward to it,
yeah,
that would normally make me assume it's good.
Yeah.
So it's wise of you to elaborate. Like, don't think you have to come in loving it, because it is bad.
have a few drinks.
That is very
before.
helpful. Oh, that is wow. That is good advice.
Have like two
I will.
or like smoke some weed or something so that you can laugh your dick off. Well, not that you would have
Right.
to worry about that.
No.
But be in a state of mind where you can laugh heartily at some of this shit, because
Good,
my God.
Okay, I am looking forward to it in that regard. Then,
Yes.
I'm curious. My
No,
interest
you-
is piqued.
You should be in for a fun time, I think. And I'm gonna be sad if you were just like, no, if you're just like, no, this is this is just
This is
straight
just
up
bad.
bad.
Yeah.
This is just like
We'll see. Unwatchably, yeah, no, we'll figure it out next time.
Anyway, I'm gonna call it, I guess. Are you good with that?
Yeah. We've already reached the next episode in our conversation, so really,
Yeah.
it's as good a time as any.
Yeah. All right. Well, appreciate you guys listening. Or no, I'm in podcast host etiquette. I'm not supposed to say you guys or refer to multiple people listening. I'm supposed to say
No.
you, so that every individual
personally.
listener feels like I'm speaking to you. I don't know.
We are
I went
directly
into, like, a
addressing
Donald-
you. No, not that guy. You, just you.
Yeah, I went into a Trump voice when I started talking about that. But yeah, I don't care. It's multiple people, so. I hope you
Thank
guys,
goodness.
all
like,
of you.
If we're doing this for, we're mostly doing this for ourselves. But if it was just one listener, that would be slightly demoralizing to me.
Oh, I'm doing it for
Slightly.
fame. I'm doing it for fame and
I'm
fortune.
just doing it for fortune. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm.
Keep the fame.
I want
I don't
my-
need people to know out there in my real life that I,
Right.
I just need the fortune.
I mean, I don't want my face to be recognizable, but I do want my right nipple to be on a billboard.
Fair enough. I mean, the face is easy because that's why we went into podcasting, so you don't have to, look at us. But the right nipple on a billboard, that should be affordable. Like, no one says the billboard has to be, in Times Square, so
Right.
should be doable. Bit of fortune goes a long way.
Want my right nipple in lights. That's the goal.
Fair?
I want to walk into
it's an
restaurants.
achievable dream.
And I want the snooty waiter with the pencil-thin mustache and the coattails to be like, "Sir, you require reservations 6 months ahead for this." And then I just flash them the nipple, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, sir, I didn't realize. Right this
Come
way,
with me.
sir."
Yeah.
And then, like, put a small wine glass next to my nipple. I'm not allowed to eat there, but
Yeah. Oh, no, of course.
The nipple.
That makes sense. Priorities, yeah.
I don't know what that's about. I'm sorry.
It is a good visual to keep in mind as you listen to this show. You, just you there, yeah.
You singular person that I'm speaking with so intimately and so
You
directly.
unique entity that is there to that's really who we make this show for.
Yeah.
Just you.
We're talking. We're friends.
Yeah,
I know your name.
Come
I
with
won't
us on
say
the
it.
parasocial. Yeah, no. We can't say all the names at once. I mean,
Right.
the one name all at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Joe Lontrue. Live long and prosper.
And eat a dick, people. Person. Eat a dick person. One
Eat
person.
a dick person. A person made of dick.
I feel like we've made that joke before.
I think I have. Yeah. They're like the Telosians with the throbbing veins in their insides of the head.
Just two of them and then a dick.
Yeah. And when they show up, it makes that Star Trek noise, that wonderful disappearing, reappearing noise. That
Yeah. Don't old dicks do that?
It's like da-da-dum. It's a dick. It is a
Hooray.
dick, Captain, but not as we know it. Tanaka. That's a reference to a show called Man Seeking Woman.
Oh, right. I've started watching that on your interesting recommendation, and then I haven't finished it yet. Not sure if I've seen that part. I don't know. It's been a couple weeks.
For any listeners out there who care, is a very surreal show that kind of takes like metaphors and relationships and turns them into like concrete things within the stories, and all of those things are canonical within the series. And at some point he dates Minka Kelly, who has her old friend from college, Tanaka, show up. And she insists they're just friends. Tanaka's not trying to get anything out of her. He's not trying to have sex with her. He is literally a giant purple penis monster with penis hands and a penis head. And and all he does is say Tanaka and bounce up and down. And when she like takes his hand, like the boyfriend is mad and being like, "You're literally stroking his dick." She's like, "It's his hand. It's his hand." It's Anyway.
Yeah.
Can't recommend the show enough.
No. This is truly all you should need to go watch it, right? Yeah.
I didn't realize you started watching
the outro.
Like
Where do we go here from now?
I don't know. Do you? I do want to know. Like, I didn't know you had started watching the show. Do you enjoy the show so far?
Oh yeah, no, it was fun. I just got distracted by other shit, so it was.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's just one of those you can throw on and be slightly weirded out by. But it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten that far yet, so I probably hadn't given you a heads up that I was watching it at all. But it's on the drive somewhere.
Yeah, it becomes more serialized as it goes, but
I figured, yeah.
For a minute, I do just love just sitting there and quietly giggling incessantly over how weird and absurdist the show is. But yeah. Go for it, everyone. Man Seeking Woman. And we'll see you next week, I guess, probably. We'll talk about the alternative factor. I don't know,
days, time. It's a construct. I don't know.
And we'll talk about Lazarus and him screaming on mountaintops and shit. You don't know that, but spoilers. You will.
I don't know that. I don't know any of this. I'm just here. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Roberson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.